I'm Jacob at Classic Garage, and today I thought I'd give you a tour of our Classic London black cab. I've just finished a wedding in central London and I found a nice quiet side street, and I'm going to show you some of the features of it. Okay, so in the back, this is our view. Now, in the rear of a London black cab, it is a 5-seater. I believe the new electric ones are a 6, because I think you have 3 tip seats here, but where I'm sat is a seat. You can fit another person in the middle and another one here on the end. Now, these literally are just tip seats. They're not the comfiest, but when I've used this for film, TV or weddings, it is great just to be able to relax in the back, have something to eat whilst you're waiting around. So it's fantastic for that. These are so spacious in the back. A lot of people buy them if they've got large families or family and a dog. You know, you can jet wash out the floor, you can take the divider out, go to the beach for the day. They are quite versatile vehicles, to be fair. So we also have, and I believe this is unique to some, well, maybe to the black cab even, I don't know how many other countries have this, but we have our wheelchair area. So that switch there, you hold release, this frame pops out of the way, and you can actually have a wheelchair here. You'll notice that area is a bit larger, and you have a seatbelt here to go round. So I know that the new electric ones have it, the LEVCs, but if you think of a New York Crown Vic cab, I don't know what they do for disability or accessibility, but yeah, we have that in here. We've also got our heater controls, so simple, on and off, fast and slow, and that comes out of the heater down here, which is underneath the driver's seat. Now, it is quite comfy in the back, as I say, but the divider here is what makes a black cab kind of one of the iconic features. If we're sat over here, you can easily have a conversation with the driver. You can see them in the mirror, and you can ask them if they've had a quiet night, mate. But yeah, they're quite a good vehicle. Now, with this divider, Austin, who built the FX4 black cab, tried to export it to the American market during the 70s, I believe, and one of the reasons it didn't take off, there were several which I'll cover in another video, but one of the reasons was this wasn't bulletproof. That was genuinely a reason why these didn't sell well in America, because they wanted that to be ballistic glass. So yeah, so what you like about that one. Now we have over here, any comments about this Hackney carriage or driver should be sent in writing to Doncaster Licensing Department. Now, this cab was used up in Doncaster. That's where I bought it from, and we don't know if it was ever used in London. Now, I'll come on to a few reasons why when I'm reviewing the cab area, the cab of the cab. But yeah, this is what you'd have in anywhere, even in London. You know, TfL, contact details. We have our litre gallon conversion table from BP. Yeah, price per litre 32p. That's definitely changed a fair bit. And one thing you'll notice is everywhere we have the no smoking stickers. So we have one here, we have one here, we have another one on the door up here, even though we have ashtrays. And that wasn't introduced until around 2012, when the Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, changed the ruling so that you wouldn't be punished as a driver if you refuse to take a smoker in your taxi. So fairly recent, to be fair. And another thing that TfL have banned is these. So the idea is, if you have that door open, obviously they open the wrong way, you jump in the cab, you can pull that to pull it shut rather than having to lean all the way over to here. But for health and safety, these are now banned. That's pretty much the back of the cab. We have our interior lights up here, which need switching on from the dash, but it is quite comfy. They are a fantastic and versatile vehicle. This is literally a doorbell. I've just ripped it out about 5 minutes ago because it was on the dash, and the previous owner had it so that if you needed to get hold of the driver, it's quite noisy driving it, you could press the doorbell. So let's get onto the cab and I'll show you some of the features of a London taxi. Okay, so we're in the driver's seat. There is no passenger seat. I'll come on to that. The driver's seat. And the first thing I'd like to point out is this 313,000 miles this has done. Let me know in the comments below if you have a black cab, if you've driven one, if you have a family member, what's the highest mileage you've seen. But it's the highest mileage thing I own at the moment. So yeah, but it drives absolutely fantastically. They are designed to be reliable. They have a 2.7 Nissan engine, incredibly bulletproof, huge engine really for the vehicle. But the point is, it shouldn't feel laborious, it shouldn't feel like it's struggling for power. You know, it is a vehicle for ferrying paying customers around, which I'll come on to something in a moment as well. Now, all of this is very Austin Rover kind of feeling. There's a hell of a lot of switchgear used in different things. This light switch you'll find in a Defender. You know, these switches you'll find in similar bits or commercial vehicles. So all of this is very British parts or spares bin of the 80s and 90s. Now, these lights here, I can't remember if they work. Okay, so this is our glow plug light. So the idea is, on a cold morning, you turn the ignition, you wait for that orange light to go out, and then you can start. And that means the glow plugs have been warmed in the diesel engine. So if you think black cab drivers may have a long shift, get home, winter, the next morning, ready to go out, turn it on and wait for that to go out, and then they start fantastically. Now, this has got an intermittent issue with that, which we have a workaround for, but yeah, it's just quite a cool little traffic light system. Very basic, very clever. The dash even, just basic. You know, 30 is down here. So when you're out and about in traffic, you've only got a glance and you can see that, you know, you're doing 20 or 30. It's a really, really easy vehicle to drive. You have exactly what you need. And the driving position is actually quite comfy. When I first picked it up, the seat was in the worst position. And I thought, how can I drive I think it was 150 miles home, but with a few adjustments, it's actually quite a comfy vehicle. It's good. So in our center console, we have our interior lights for the rear and for the front when the ignition's on. This light, I think, is meant to tell you when the doors are locked, but we've disconnected that. We have our hazards, fog lights, and demister. Cigarette lighter. This is for the front heater, so that's your fan. This is for the rear heater, so you can turn it on for the passenger. Stereo, probably going to swap that out for something with CarPlay in, like a single din, because when you're doing weddings, it's really useful just to be able to glance down and see, you know, Google Maps, rather than have it up here or the passengers hearing that you don't know where you're going. Now, some cab specific features. We have some lights down here. If anyone can tell me which lights they're for, I'd love to know. There are some spotlights on this, but I'm not quite sure what they are for. And similarly, no idea what these are for. You can see there's a green and a red light. I've never been able to find what these do. I believe it's aftermarket, but if anyone knows, please let me know. This here, very hidden away, the fuel cutoff switch. So if I'm presuming the idea is, obviously, if there's a fire or an issue, you can flick that. But even if you park up and you don't want your cab being stolen, maybe, you can literally just flick that, get out, and it would take someone a good, I don't know, maybe a few minutes to work out why it wouldn't start. I'm presuming that's the reason. Let me know in the comments. We have our door locks here. Again, switches from a Land Rover, so we can lock the front doors or the rear doors. We have an ashtray for the driver. Storage space here, and you see that we have a manual gearbox. Incredibly rare in black cabs. I understand they were popular in Scotland, around Edinburgh and so on, rather than the autos. And in books I've read, most cabs were manual, and when Austin bought out an automatic, the consensus was that drivers didn't quite know how to drive an auto. And there's stories of people putting it into, or having it in neutral, revving it as if there was a biting point, and then shoving it into drive and smashing the gearbox to bits, basically. And drivers really didn't like them. The sales really did not go well. But now, obviously, all black cabs are electric, and obviously auto. And even the ones before this, the TX4, same again, mainly auto. So yeah, she's a 5-speed. I think drives fantastic. But if you had an auto, you'd have kind of a plastic bit down here with all the gearbox, and you lose this storage space. This is my little drinks holder here and keys. Now this is our little cubby box down here. So some taxi drivers refer to having a secret space in the cab where they would keep change. However, my understanding is, I'll post a picture up of what I'm referring to here. Some of you may be too young to remember. My understanding is you keep change here, basically, to give the passenger change through here. But yeah, makes a great little tray for phone, keys, whatever. Bluetooth speaker for me up the front, because this has awful radio reception and it drowns out the engine. We have a CB radio down here, which works, and the speaker mounted under the bonnet. We also have our mic, and yeah, we can talk to people from outside. Now, the previous owner had an aerial on the roof, which I ripped off because it was hideous. However, he was very old school, and when I picked it up, he said if you whack that on, put the aerial on the roof, you'll be able to hear traffic updates from other motorists on the way home. Google Maps arguably does a much better job, but definitely another relic and of its age, absolutely. Now this cord here, this would just go onto here and to here. The idea is, if you pull up at Heathrow and you have a passenger with a few suitcases and you're in the taxi rank, they can open this door, pop their suitcases down here. There is quite a lot of space, and you, without leaving your cab, can just pull that string like we did in the back and it will slam the door shut. So quite a useful feature, really. This glass panel here has been replaced. It's like a misted acrylic. Now, we either think it's been broken into at some point or used for filming, but yeah, it's non-original, but a bit of a pain. And that's pretty much it up front. You can get a passenger seat that mounts here. However, insurance-wise, DVLA-wise, and everything else, it's a huge headache, and I don't need it. It's nice having, you know, a little space in the front. And to be fair, when you're driving it, it feels nice just having your own space. You know, you feel in your own little world. It is lovely, to be fair. I do like it for that reason. Oh, and up here, obviously, we have electric mirrors. So, whack it right or left, and then we can adjust them. That should be our digital clock, which doesn't work. Find me a car with a digital clock that does work. They don't exist. We have our meter, which I bought off eBay a while ago just for show. I don't think it's the correct one, but it is an LTI, which is around the right kind of era. But again, if you know which one it should be, let me know. And then this is the most important button for any black cab driver. This illuminates our taxi for hire sign at the front. There is no way of remembering if it's on. So if you pull someone up, you always have to remember to turn it off. Unless I'm missing something, that's my understanding of that. You need to remember to turn it on and off. So that's pretty much everything in the cab. I've shown you those features which are exclusive to a London black cab. I've not been in a newer one to see how those features have evolved or what there is now. Again, if you're a driver, let me know in the comments below. And I thought I'd show you under the bonnet and a few dangerous features in the engine bay. Okay, so first things first, we have this to open the bonnet. Now there is an actual bonnet release in the cab, but you can see it's slightly ajar. Now you can slam this completely shut, or you can have it on the first, it's almost like on a catch, ajar. And I was told that drivers would do this to allow more airflow in, to cool the engine in traffic and so on. I've always left it like that because it means I don't have to remember to pull the bonnet release. This is notorious for draining its battery, or my one is anyway, so it's useful to be able to quickly open the bonnet and shove a trickle charger on. And we also have our AA membership badge as well. So if we pull this, it says, there we go, and you'll see the heart of a London black cab. So we have a battery there, obviously. Nissan 2.7, believe it's probably the original, but incredibly reliable, fantastic things. There's our speaker I was talking about for the CB radio. And yeah, incredibly basic, very easy to work on, very easy. Now, to be a licensed black cab driver, it does also mean, right, this weapon, absolute weapon. So if you're down here in the engine bay and you go up, I've whacked myself enough times on this and it seriously hurts. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be many black cab drivers with some nostalgia of being impaled by that. Now, what I was saying is TfL will inspect your vehicle, and in conjunction with the police, they will run not roadblocks, but they'll run operations where they will stop, and they still do it now. They will stop licensed taxi drivers in London and look over your vehicle, and your vehicle could be prohibited or could be removed from the road. You could have to end the rest of your shift because of a defect or a fault. And as such, MOTs now with taxis, I think, are every 6 months, so that goes for black cabs or any kind of taxi. But on the whole, in the past 10 years, black cab drivers in London have nearly halved. So we've gone from around 23,000 to 15,000 this year, and last year only 3,000 new drivers passed. So there's a lot of reasons for this, mainly political and the Mayor of London, but you know, a black cab now, the electric ones, are about 100 grand including interest. So if you're 22, 23, looking for a career, and you go and pay to do the knowledge, and you take time out, you know, a year or 2 years of around your job, learning the knowledge, learning the routes and learning London, you don't have to get 100 grand debt to be able to do your job. Now, some will argue that obviously it's your tool, it's, you know, you need it and you can earn a fair bit. I don't know what a black cab driver earns. It's a very secretive no-go topic in the UK. Tom the taxi driver on YouTube though has done fantastic videos explaining how it works, so do check that out. But you know, it's an awful lot to take on. I'd no idea what this would have cost new. I know that what I paid for it was certainly not 100 grand, but it's a fascinating bit of history in the history of London black cabs itself. These are an iconic vehicle. Even when you're out and about in it, everyone wants to ask you about it. I get hailed all the time, and yeah, just instantly iconic. Okay, so what I thought I'd do is mount the GoPro and take you for a drive, and you can hear just how loud it is as the driver with that lump of an engine in the front, and hopefully go into central London in a bit for a future video, seeing what kind of reaction this gets and showing you that people still hail it. It's 30 years old, and yeah, it's that iconic. Tourists or anyone will put their hand up. Okay, so one thing I forgot to say is that the keys are underneath the steering wheel, and I don't know if it's to stop anyone just jumping in and yanking the keys out, but it's a bit of a fiddle. So there you go, starts lovely. Let's go for a drive. Now, I haven't got a mic today, so hopefully that actually shows you just how loud and noisy it can be in here. It's very agricultural, but nonetheless, let's get on our way. Now, first does judder a slight bit. The clutch release bearing could do with replacing, but this is what it's like to drive a vintage London black cab. And we're in the Bishop's Avenue. That's where I managed to find somewhere, so very affluent. Now, one thing, I don't know if the camera will pick this up. From the driver's seat, you can only see the bonnet and the right hand side arch. I can't see anything over here at all, but you get used to it. So I thought I'd continue to drive, and I wanted to tell you a few other little quirky facts about the London black cab. Now, Prince Philip had one of these. It's at the Sandringham estate. You can go and view it. It's in their collection, and I think it was green. He used to take it out round London at night or even during the day to be inconspicuous, to blend in, to be able to drive around London and enjoy it, and not be in a motorcade or with an Escort or a big armoured Range Rover. So it has a royal connection. There's rumours that the Met Police, the Flying Squad, the SAS use black cabs around London for the same reason. No one takes a second glance at one. I guarantee if you've driven past one today, you didn't even look at it. You didn't even look in the back, see who was in the back doing their makeup or having a phone call. They blend in, and there are around 45,000 taxis registered with TfL. So that can be taxis, black cabs, Ubers, but there's a lot on the roads. So I'm now on a 40-mile-an-hour road. This is what it's like at 30, at 40, and 41. That's fourth gear. I mean, in central London, nowadays 20 mile an hour top speed. But back in the 90s, 30, 40, M4 flyover, A40. But at 30, she's alright. She is a great vehicle. Iconic, fun to drive, different, quirky. People love it for weddings. People all around the world have bought these, have converted them. There's pickups. There's everything. The London 2012 ceremony featured black cabs as an integral part of it through the London Vintage Taxi Association, which I joined as part of this. There's a huge cult following, and every year for Remembrance Sunday, that same organisation, the LVTA, will organise for free to transport veterans, Chelsea pensioners to and from London's Remembrance Sunday to the Cenotaph. Now, I mentioned earlier about the costs nowadays of being a black cab driver. Obviously, for me today to come and do this wedding, I pay congestion charge, I pay ULEZ. I can get around the ULEZ as it's got a disabled ramp, but so that's £27.50 already. The diesel on top, probably used 25 quid, it's 50 quid. Now in a day around London, how many miles could you do? 60, 70 maybe? Nowadays, in a typical shift. I think Oxford Street, I think is 2 miles long. You know, if you're going up and down that and picking up, dropping off fares. But it's a comfortable place to be for a day. Yes, it's manual. Yes, your left leg hurts. An auto would be nice, but it's not a bad place to be. You know, it's 90s British manufacturing, made by Carbodies. The black cab has gone through so many iterations under Austin, LTI, Carbodies, now LEVC that have the monopoly. In TfL, with TfL now in London, the only licensed black cab, the only approved black cab is the LEVC TXE. That is it. They have the monopoly. Now, arguably, should they be allowed to have it? Or is it the reliable and approved choice? Does it work for everyone? I don't think I've seen people complain too much about them. Obviously, net zero, sustainability, everything else, you know, we're going electric. So are other countries. But this is fantastic. When I came to London as a kid, this is what I saw. This, Route Masters, it's an absolute piece of London's history. I love it. So I'm glad you enjoyed this, or hopefully, I hope you enjoyed it. There'll be more videos coming soon. And let me know if you like this style of touring the vehicle, the head cam, and showing you first person what it's like to drive these unusual, quirky, rare cars, vans, trucks, whatever. And if you enjoyed it, definitely like the video, subscribe, and drop a comment with what you'd like to see next. Whatever it is, I'll find it. Thank you for watching. Now, I bought this cab around 2 years ago, I think, on eBay, bid on it one night, woke up the next day and won it. Now, I liked it because it had the period, you know, the chrome bumpers. It looks a bit older than it is, so for film and TV work, it's ideal. You put a different number plate on and it's a 60s or 70s cab. And it looks nice for weddings as well, but it's still fairly modernish to drive or be sat in the back of. Now, when I bought it, the guy was up near Doncaster. We've stayed in touch, and he had been using it for, you know, taking people to the races, and just locally, you know, airport runs and bits like that, and earning a bit of money out of it. However, he acquired it at a scrapyard. Now, the story goes, he was looking to find some parts for a motorbike of his, a project. So went to a local scrapyard and someone was about to scrap this. Now, this was around 2017, 18, I believe. So fairly recently still. And yeah, wanted to scrap it. And he said, look, I'll give you my bike for that taxi. They did a swap and now I have it. So I love vehicles like that where there's a bit of history. There's no reason to scrap this at all. Not at all. Like financially or the state of it, no. It's yeah, so I like stories like that. I love people telling that. I love telling people that story. And it was licensed up until I think around 2015 with Doncaster Council as a black cab, and it would have been 20 years old at that point. So yeah, the stories it must hold in the back here, you know, when it has been a cab and when it's been privately owned, they are fantastic vehicles from that perspective. So yeah, just wanted to share that, but that's how I bought it anyway. Yeah, never be discouraged to bid on something on eBay and you might just win.